Hello and welcome to the Mission Monarch workshop. My name is Charles-Étienne Ferland. I am an educational content developer at the Insectarium de Montreal, and I'm very happy to give you this presentation this evening. I will share my screen and we will get started right away. Here we go. Let me make sure that this is recording so that people who are not here today can watch afterwards. Yes, we are. Okay, here we go. So welcome to the Mission Monarch workshop. We are mapping the reproductive habitat of the monarch butterfly. This presentation lasts approximately 30 minutes, and after that we'll have a moment for questions and discussions, and I'll be happy to answer to the best that I can. When I present Mission Monarch, I like to say that it is built for your conservation needs, whether you are a member of the general public, a park, a museum, a municipality, a foundation, an NGO, or a government organization. As long as your goal is to document the breeding sites of the monarch butterflies in your area, Mission Monarch is the platform for you. So essentially, together, we're building a map capable of informing conservation measures. So there's a map on our website. I'll show you how to access it after the presentation. But essentially, my hope is that this tool becomes used by different levels of governments, by cities, by neighborhoods, to know where are the habitats where monarchs are growing, so that we can protect those places. We've been collecting data since 2016, and we have a large database of milkweeds and monarch surveys. Now, the map may look a little bit crowded as it is right now, but it takes all its meaning when you zoom in to the area of your choice and when you filter by year. So, for instance, if you want to know when you can observe monarch eggs in your area, you could check last year when the eggs were starting to be found. So it sort of empowers you to find the answers to your questions. And at the end of my presentation, I'll show you how to explore the map. Since 2016, we've had over 8,000 users send 14,000 data submissions. They surveyed over 9,000 sites, examined 570,000 milkweeds, reported 84,000 monarchs, all life stages together. It's a very large database. So let's talk about Mission Monarch, the knowledge gap we're targeting. Well, first of all, we need to recognize that monarch populations have declined by 90% over the past 9 years. The monarch status in Canada is currently endangered. During the summer, the monarch breeds in Canada, but where exactly? That's the question that we are trying to answer with Mission Monarch. That's our research question. So today, our agenda, first of all, I'll cover all about the monarch butterfly and then how to use Mission Monarch to conserve this butterfly. The monarch is an insect with a complete metamorphosis. It means that it goes through 4 life stages: the egg, the caterpillar, the chrysalis, and the adult. And this life cycle takes approximately 1 to 1.5 months to be completed. The monarch feeds as a caterpillar on milkweed, and it's an essential plant. It's because it's the caterpillar's only food source. Milkweed secretes latex, a toxic whitish liquid rich in a toxin called cardinalides. This plant uses the latex as a defense mechanism, and monarchs in turn are able to store these toxins in their tissues, thus becoming toxic themselves. It's a complex relationship between milkweed and the monarchs. In biology, we're talking about an arms race because both species are trying to evolve strategies to defeat the defenses of the other one. So, for instance, milkweeds have evolved trichomes on their leaves. The trichomes are tiny hairs which prevent access to the leaf tissue, or at least try to. Then in the leaf, there is this substance, the latex, and the liquid contains this toxin called cardinalides. However, the monarch has evolved impressive strategies to adapt to the milkweed's defense mechanisms. The first one I like to call the lawn mower. It's essentially the monarch caterpillar mowing the lawn, mowing the trichomes to access the plant tissue. Then we have the trench where the monarch caterpillar will make little punctures in the leaf so as to drain the latex. And when the larva, where the caterpillar is bigger, it can break the stem of the leaf, and I call that the main water break. So it drains the leaf in order to eat it afterwards. When we think about the monarch butterfly, something that we often associate with it is the migration phenomenon. So the monarch will spend the winter in Mexico and come back in northeastern North America to spend the summer. And the return trip between Mexico and Quebec is completed over 4 to 5 generations. Oh yeah, I wanted to point out that we make the distinction between the Eastern North American population and the Western North American population. I'll be focusing on the northeastern monarch population in my presentation. So let's take a look at the spring migration. It takes several generations to make the trip from Mexico to southeastern Canada. And in the fall, the young monarchs from the last generation make the trip to central Mexico. So it's the same butterfly leaving northeastern Canada, going all the way to Mexico. And that's a trip of 4,500 kilometers. Um, I'll talk about the the dangers along the way in a couple slides. But for now, let me take you to Mexico in an Oyamel for fir Oyamel fir trees forest. This is where the monarchs overwinter in the mountainous forests of central Mexico. And what you are seeing on the screen are not dead trees. They're actually gatherings of monarchs, and it's when they gather that we can count them. Of course, we can't count them one by one. It would take way too much time. So instead, we are measuring the size of the overwintering sites in Mexico in order to estimate the size of the population of the monarchs. And this is how we were able to observe a decline in the population of 90% since 1996. Now, there are three main causes to the decline. First of all, historically, illegal logging in Mexico in the overwintering sites has historically been one of the causes of the declines. Less so nowadays, but still worth mentioning to give some context. Then we have intensified agricultural practices and landscape changes. As the landscape changes, and by that I mean less flowers available, less milkweed, there's less habitat for the monarch. And then climate change. Imagine the effect of extreme, more frequent meteorological event along the migratory pathway of the monarch. This can also decimate large chunks of the population. So as a museum, we wondered, what can we do about the decline? What can the Insectarium de Montréal do about it? So we thought, well, what are our strengths? We have an expertise in developing educational resources, and we do have an expertise in research. And we also recognize that there wasn't enough scientific knowledge about monarch populations in Canada to develop an effective conservation plan. So the idea behind Mission Monarch is to harvest the power of participatory science in order to fill the gaps in our knowledge. So the idea for the program was to raise awareness by talking to the public about the importance of conservation, but also inviting the public to participate in research so that we can better protect the monarch's breeding sites. I've mentioned this participatory science. What is it? When we talk about a participatory science project, just like Mission Monarch, we're talking about a research project in which non-scientists are invited to actively contribute and collect data as volunteers. So it's a way to open up the scientific process and to make it accessible. And you'll see just how accessible we wanted to make Mission Monarch. Essentially, our protocol boils down to 4 steps to help the monarch. The first one being to print the form. There's a form available on our website. I'll share the link after I'm done with the presentation. The form is essential to conduct the field surveys. Then the second step is to find milkweed, to go out on a hike to your favorite park or wherever you're going outdoors in the summer. And then once you've found milkweed, you are invited to examine the stems of milkweeds. And oh, I have someone who wants to participate in the workshop. All right. So once you found your milkweed stems, you examine them, you're looking for eggs, caterpillars, chrysalises, and monarchs, and you're filling the form as you go. And the last step is to share your results on our website so that we can make the data available to everyone. And I'm highlighting sharing the data through our website, not sending me an email with your pictures and, hey, I found this and that. Imagine if I had 8,000 people sending me an email, I wouldn't see the end of it. So, before we go any further, I want also to emphasize that Mission Monarch is not another iNaturalist. We don't collect the same kind of data. iNaturalist is a very popular participatory science platform, which I love to use. It's great for saying, hey, I saw this at this location on this day at this time. However, what we do collect in Mission Monarch are survey data. So number of milkweed examined, number of monarchs found. So this has more of an ecological value because we get an idea of the density of the populations. We know how many participants conducted the survey and how long the survey was. So it gives us an idea of the effort that was made to document a certain habitat. And this is how we identify monarch breeding hotspots. Again, this is a very simple protocol. It's designed for the public at large. It's meant for to do with your family, with your friends, even kids can do it. It's super accessible. And our participants get an illustrated tutorial, which I'll share with you after the presentation. They have their own user profile with a history of their surveys and a custom map of where they looked for milkweeds and monarchs. I send out about 4 to 5 newsletters per year, 2 to 5 blog articles, and also you get to meet the team in our in-person kiosks. And our next one coming up is Les Butineries, the festival of pollinator insects at the Montreal Insectarium. It's actually going to be outside. It's free. It's a family event, and it's the last weekend of July 2025. So come see us. I'll be there. And if you have any questions on how the survey went, you can come and talk to me at that event. Let's look at the form a little bit more. The PDF form is in the mission kit. I'll send the link shortly. Make sure that you print enough copies for all your participants. I say that because sometimes we have teachers and day camp counselors in our training sessions. So, for example, one form per group of 2 to 4 people is plenty. You might like also to have a clipboard and pens to do the activity. Then the second step is to find milkweed, the host plant of the monarch butterfly. So it's time to go to your observation site, the place that you've chosen. Some people like to look at the map beforehand to find gaps where people haven't done surveys before and try to see if they can find monarch habitat in that location. In Canada, we have a couple of native milkweed species. On our website, you have a PDF on how to identify every single milkweed species. Let's take a look at the 2 most common milkweeds in Canada, in Quebec, sorry. We have the common milkweed, which is by far the most frequently encountered, and we also have swamp milkweed. And if we dig closer into the common milkweed, we're currently in June 2025 as I'm giving this workshop, and we can start seeing the leaves of the common milkweed. At least in Montreal, I see them when I'm biking to work in the morning. And in July and August, you'll see the flowers of the milkweed, which are spherical and smell very good. And in September and October, you can see the fruits of the milkweed, which look like this one on the screen. Step number 3, it's time to look for the monarchs once you've found the milkweed. So we're inspecting stems one at a time, and we're looking for eggs, caterpillars, chrysalises, and monarchs. It's important to keep your form handy to note your observations as you go. So I'll give you an example. I'm inspecting a milkweed stem and I find nothing. No eggs, no caterpillars or chrysalises. So I'll cross out the number of stems that I've inspected, for instance, 15 in that scenario, but I won't add a line in the egg section or in the caterpillar section. But even if you do a survey and you don't find anything, zeros are also important because it tells us that somebody went out, did an effort to look for monarchs documented a potential sign because there was milkweed, but at the time of the survey there was no eggs, no caterpillars. It doesn't mean that next week or the month after that it won't be used as an actual breeding site. So essentially, zeros are important. You'll usually find a single egg on each plant. The egg is white, yellowish, oval or cone-shaped, and it has longitudinal ridges. As you can see on the picture, it's tiny lines that go from the top to bottom. Also important, if you see a whitish mass that isn't cone-shaped and that doesn't have the ridges, it's probably not an egg, but a droplet of milkweed sap. Here's a picture of a monarch egg next to a finger just to show you how small it is. Some people like to take a hand lens or a magnifying glass to look at leaves. Yeah. Now, the caterpillars, they have yellow, white, and black stripes. They're very recognizable with their black filaments at each end of the body. They go through 5 developmental stages. They molt 4 times, and this stage usually lasts from 7 to 17 days. The chrysalises are not often found by participants because they're camouflaged and hard to find. And they're also often not on milkweed plants because the caterpillar might leave the milkweed in order to go make its chrysalises somewhere safe on the wall of a house or under the AC units. You can find them in odd places. They are green turquoise with golden spot. They reflect the light and they become transparent when the butterfly is about to emerge. Then we have the adult monarch butterflies, which are orangey, black-veined wings with white spotted borders. They will live from 3 to 5 weeks or 8 months if they are the migratory generation. And here's a tip to spot the difference between the males and the females. The males have 2 spots on their hind wings, whereas the females do not. Let's go over some insects that looked like the monarch. So on the left, you have the monarch caterpillar and the adult. Sometimes people confuse the black swallowtail with the monarch caterpillar. However, they're not the same color. The swallowtail does not have the filaments which the monarch have. And the black swallowtail is not found on milkweed, and the monarch caterpillar will usually be found on milkweed. Then we have the milkweed tussock moth, which is also not the right color and found usually in greater numbers than the monarch caterpillar. And we have the viceroy, which is a monarch mimic. But if you look closely at the hind wings of the viceroy, you can see that there is an extra line going across, which the monarch doesn't have. Step number 4 already. It's time to share your results. At the end of your outing, we invite you to enter the data that you've collected and your photos on the Mission Monarch website. If you do not already have an account, this implies creating an account so that you can log all of your observations. And congrats, it's already done. You are now ready for your next mission. After that, we take it from there. The Insectarium receives your data. There's a revision process. And actually, this map isn't quite the latest version because there are 2 points that were in northern Quebec that were actually not valid, so please ignore those. There's a revision process so that if people report saying they've seen hundreds of milkweeds and caterpillars in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, but do not add pictures to prove it, then we might say, I doubt that's true, and invalidate the data. But usually people enter the right location and provide pictures so that we can validate the info. And then we add the data to the map, and the data becomes available to all. Just a quick word to invite you to subscribe to our newsletter and to receive the blog articles. We send out a couple of those every year. We're also toying around with the idea of implementing a discussion forum for participants to exchange and talk and discuss among each other. But in the meantime, we have answers to your question at the address mission-monarch, monarch in French, at montreal.ca. Currently, I'm the only one on the project, and there is a bit of a backlog for questions as of June 5th, 2025. So do expect a couple of delays until I get back to you. But you will eventually hear from me when you write to this address. Then we have an annual mobilization campaign, the Monarch Blitz. Some of you might be already familiar with the name. That is a 10-day event in which we encourage people to submit data, conduct surveys. But that doesn't mean that Mission Monarch can only be done during that 10-day period. It's only that during that time, we highly encourage people to go out once a day and to conduct a survey in a different location. So that's an annual campaign in collaboration with the Commission for Environmental Cooperation. It happens during the same 10 days in Canada, US, and Mexico. And it helps to raise public awareness and, of course, encourage data collection. The best way to stay in the loop every year to know when the Blitz is happening is the newsletter. And that's already the end. I'll leave you on this wonderful picture taken last year in 2024 with my colleague Julia on the left and our two summer students from last year. I'll leave you with three key takeaways. The first one is it's very important to create habitat, to plant flowers, to protect milkweed so that the monarchs can have their breeding sites. Do participate in participatory science projects. It really helps scientists. They are very grateful to have extra hands on deck to gather data. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation today. Please do spread the word, talk about Mission Monarch. My name is Charles-Étienne Ferland from the Insectarium de Montreal, and I'm very happy I could spend this moment with you to show you the program. I've now stopped sharing my screen. I will publish the links to the Mission Monarch form as well as the steps to help the Monarch. I mean the tutorial how to conduct the field surveys. Um, if you have any questions, you can now write them in the Q&R section of the team's event. I see already a question. An anonymous person asks, how often should surveys be done? This depends entirely on you. We have people conducting them every week, sometimes in the same location, sometimes in different location all throughout the summer. Some people prefer only to do it during the Blitz. It really depends on you, but the more data, the better, obviously. So you can print out a couple forms at the beginning of the summer, and when you know you're going out to visit a park, or if you're going out camping, you can bring a couple surveys and do them with you there. There is no prescribed frequency on how to do it. We're grateful even if you just do it once during the summer, but more is better. While I'm waiting for more questions, I'll show you where to find the map on our website and how to use it to answer your questions. So I'll reshare my screen. Share screen. Here we go. So I'm going on the Mission Monarch website. When you go to the website, you don't even need to log into or create an account to view the data. You go in the data tab here, explore data, map. And then you have access to the map, which by default, when you arrive, shows all years, all 9 years of data since 2016. However, you can decide, well, I want to see where surveys were done last year because I want to sample in places that haven't been sampled last year. So let's take January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. So that'll show us the full year of 2024. I clicked search, and now the map will display, after it has refreshed, the data from 2024 only. So I'm in Montreal. I'll go look near the Insectarium de Montreal. I see that there were a couple surveys done here If I'm zooming out, I can see that there are some hotspots here and here. This is Mont Royal Park. But let's take a look at the Montreal Insectarium here. I'm picking this data point, and it shows me that is the checklist EB 16019. It's all the same, reporting different information. These were done on 2024-081. I'm clicking on the checklist, and I see that this person has examined 15 stems of common milkweed, 50 stems of swamp milkweed. No monarch eggs were found. However, 5 monarch caterpillars were found, and this person observed 2 adult monarchs while doing this survey. So this is how we examine data. You can also download the data set if you like to conduct analyses. Sometimes people who are browsing our database for research purposes, they like to download the data. You should know that it takes a couple minutes for the website to generate the database. So when you hit download, please be patient, go make yourself a cup of tea, and come back a couple minutes later. The download will have started. If you have any problems, you can always write to me on the Mission Monarch website. You have a contact us button here, and it goes right to the Mission Monarch inbox.